Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining for today's webinar presentation. This month's webinar topic is Sundry Sales. Let's get started. So a bit of an overview of today's presentation. We'll start with some introductions. Then we'll dive right into an overview of what is the Sundry Sales module. We'll take a look at how to set up the Sundry Sales tools and how to use Sundry Sales on day-to-day operations. We'll also take a look at some reporting options that are available both inside Sundry Sales and outside of Sundry Sales within Roomkey PMS itself. We have some frequently asked questions, and then we'll wrap up today's presentation with a summary and Q&A. So our introductions for today, my name is Tasha LeClaire. I'm a trainer and implementation specialist with Roomkey. Joining me today, I do have our Director of Customer Experience, Mr. William Tam. I'll be presenting today's webinar presentation on screen and doing live demonstrations. Throughout the presentation, William will oversee the Q&A and chat. If you do have any questions throughout today's presentation, go ahead and click on the Q&A button. You can type out a question, William will be able to answer, and if there's any questions left over, we can use those for our Q&A at the end as well, so we can look to answer those live in today's presentation. Couple more things about today's webinar. This webinar is being recorded. You might have received a notification at the beginning of today's presentation. That recording will be added to our support website. So if you'd like to review today's presentation or share it with others, you'll be able to do so. Everyone who registers for our webinars are notified once that presentation is available on our support website. For those of you that are joining our live presentation today, welcome. There is a webinar survey at the end of today's presentation, just a couple of quick questions there. And if you have any recommendations for any future topics, you can type those in as part of the survey as well. Great. So diving right into an overview, what is the Sundry Sales module? In Roomkey, this is a simple cashier module that tracks item sales for guests and non-guests. So typically, when we're working with front desk and reservation operations, it requires a reservation in order to purchase an item or record a sale, but this Sundry Sales module actually allows you to do that for both guests and non-guests. So it doesn't require a guest reservation in order to sell an item. Now, these items would be anything that is outside of an actual guest room. So a couple of examples here could be snacks or items that you're selling, food items that you're selling from the front desk. It could be simple amenities or merchandise that you might have in a simple gift shop, or again, maybe associated with front desk there. We can also use the Sundry Sales module to sell services. So that could be bike rentals, it could be parking, and like I said, this could be for guests or non-guests, and we'll see how those can operate throughout today's presentation as well. The overall idea about these items, whether they're snacks, amenities, merchandise, or services, is that they allow you to expand and diversify the different revenue streams available for your hotel. So instead of just selling guest rooms, you might be able to sell additional services or items directly from the front desk. And using this Sundry Sales module, it makes the process very streamlined. So it does not disrupt or cause additional steps for the front desk staff, regardless if it is a guest or a non-guest purchasing these items. So to get started, you want to make sure that a few things are already set up in your Sundry Sale or in Roomkey before you start using Sundry Sales. Most importantly, you want to make sure that you have access or enabled the module itself. And that is using a permission 606 Sundry Sales. And this permission is enabled at both the property level, which is found in the property module. So you would set up this as a property permission first to enable it for your database. And you want to make sure that each clerk has access to the Sundry Sales module. So it's the same permission at both the property level and individual clerk IDs. Now, you may already have this enabled in your system. A good way to check is if you go to the operations menu in Roomkey and select Sundry Sales. This module, Sundry Sales, should pop up for you. If you see the module, but it is grayed out, it means that the property permission is enabled, but it is not enabled for your clerk ID. So you'll want to make sure that you're enabling this permission 606 Sundry Sales under your clerk ID. So this permission is required for any users at the front desk that are going to be overseeing the purchase or payments for these items. Now the next permission sets permission 820, 850, and 851. These are only required for users, usually in a management or admin level, that are going to be setting up the transaction codes that are used in the Sundry Sales module. So these permissions are only available if you have owner admin user role set up on your clerk ID, and you'll want to make sure that you're enabling them, each one of them, and that allows you to manage both the taxes that you'll set up and the individual transaction codes that you'll set up in the Sundry Sales module. So within the Sundry Sales module, whenever you record a sale, it's going to be based off of individual transaction codes. So a simple setup might have just a transaction code. You can give it a custom name, but here I'm just using the example Sundry Sale. That transaction code is going to be connected to a general ledger or GL account for revenue tracking purposes. You may need to double check with your accounting team to determine what account should be used or connected to the sundry sale transaction code, or if the accountant may recommend a new GL account to be created specifically for this transaction code. So when you create the transaction code Sundry Sale, you'll connect it to the revenue account, GL account in this case, Sundry's account. And then you also have the option to attach a tax to the transaction code as well. So the tax tells Roomkey that it's going to be an additional amount or additional tax associated with that specific transaction code. In this example, I have just a 10% tax that is applied to the sundry sale item there, transaction code. Now, this is a very simple setup, like I said, but it is up to you depending on how many services or items that you would like to sell from the front desk or using the Sundry Sales module. You can set up additional transaction codes, and you can also customize those with their own GL, general ledger accounts as well. So for example, if you're offering both self parking in a parkade as well as valet parking within your hotel, you might have two transaction codes to record those two types of parking services, and that revenue would go to a parking account or GL account there. And again, you can associate taxes with those transaction codes as well. Another type of setup that I have seen is having simply an amenity transaction code. You might also have a miscellaneous transaction code, and these just go directly to a miscellaneous GL account. Again, the names and setup of those accounts, I do strongly recommend you double check and build those with the knowledge and recommendations from any of your accounting team members. Just one other note here, whenever you're creating and setting up these transaction codes, I have shown these with taxes, but it is possible if you prefer to have just a flat an amount and no taxes, or if those transactions are tax exempt, you do not need to attach a tax. So for example, this miscellaneous transaction code, there is no tax associated with it there. Now, this is just a very broad overview of a couple of examples of how you can set up your transaction codes. Again, it's very customizable to suit your business. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more about the step-by-step procedures of setting up GL accounts, transaction codes, and taxes, definitely check out our transaction codes webinar. This is available on our support website, and it gives more in-depth, step-by-step instructions on how to do each of these processes and how to structure these, and some of the recommendations for some of the reporting as well. So once you have your Sundry Sales module enabled with those permission sets, and once you have set up your transaction codes and customize those to suit your business, we can now take a look at how you can make sales using the Sundry Sales module. I've got a couple of examples that we'll walk through here, and each sale is going to be slightly different depending on the payment method. So we've got a variety of payment methods that we can review here in the Sundry Sales module. So let's get started with the first one here. We're going to see how to make a sale using a cash payment. This can be the most straightforward or simple way using that simple cashier. So here in Roomkey, to access the Sundry Sales module, go to the Operations menu and you'll select Sundry Sales. That'll open up the module on screen, and in the bottom right corner, you'll click the Sale button. Over to the left-hand side in the Charges section, this is where we can add our items, and I'm just going to select Sundry Sale. Here in the reference field, you can actually specify what that sale is. In this case, I'll say that is for a bag of chips, and the amount is $3. As you add the amount, if there's taxes applicable, you can see those apply here as well. You can continue to insert charges and add additional items as needed. Here I'll add a coffee and the amount. And you can repeat that process as much as needed depending on what is being sold. Now over to the right-hand side, you'll see this payment field where you'll see the amount that is owed in cash, and you can also record the how much is received. In this case, it is $10, and Roomkey automatically tells me that I need to give back $3.95 in change. When you click Post Charge, you'll now see that amount as a receipt, and you can click Reports, select the Receipt option, and that will generate a receipt on screen where you can print that out and provide that as a printed receipt for that purchase. So a bit of a quick sale there, but using cash, we can see in that Sundry Sales module where we can record that separate items with their own pricing, and then a total amount using a cash amount, and it will even let you indicate how much is received, whether it was more than the cash or the original amount, and it'll tell you how much change you need to give back whenever you're doing a cash sale. Now let's take a look at another type of sale. This time we're going to make a similar sale in the Sundry Sales module, but this time we're going to pay with a credit card. Now in this example, this example database has a credit card integration. So not only will we be able to see where we can input credit card information, we'll also see how the credit card how we will receive a approval message directly from the interface as well. So once again, here in the Sundry Sales module, you'll go down to the Sale button in the bottom right corner. Here in the Charges section, you will select your Sundry Sale item. You can enter any reference information and the amount. In this case, it's a hoodie that I'm going to sell for $50. Now this time over to the payment side, instead of using cash, I'm going to change this to a credit card. I'll just use Visa as the example, and you'll enter in the credit card information, including expiry date and cardholder. You'll click Post Payment. And like I said, this is an interface, so the interface information is going to pop up where I can click Post. And right in Roomkey, I'll receive that approval message saying that that payment was approved. And I can click OK. Now, if you do want to review the receipt, you can go to the Reports menu and select Receipt. and that will generate that receipt for you once again. Here we can see the item that was sold, and this time the payment information shows that that was paid with a Visa. So, a couple different payment methods there. If you're using a debit card, it'll work just like the credit card that we saw there. And again, if you have that interface, it's going to show the interface pop-up window and actually show you your approval message on screen. If you do not have a credit card interface connected to your RoomKey PMS database, you will proceed with processing that payment manually using your manual processor and then record the payment manually in the Sundry Sales module, just like you would for regular payment processing inside RoomKey. Now let's see our third payment method. This is using a tool called Paid by Room. Now, in order to use this tool, you do have to have a guest in-house. These first two methods, paying with cash or paying with credit card, these methods could be used if it's a guest or if it's a non-guest, maybe um, someone who is just passing by. But for the paid by room option, there must be a guest checked into the hotel, so they must be in-house. And this can be used if someone maybe comes up to the front desk, they purchase an item, um, and instead of paying directly with either cash or credit at that time, they instead ask to charge it to their room. So paid by room is the example of for payment with an in-house guest. Just go ahead and click play. There we go. So once again, here in the Sundry Sales module, we'll start with a sale. You'll click the sale button on the bottom right. And then here in the charges screen, we'll select our item. This time we're going to be charging for parking and the amount. And then over to the payment side, we're going to change the payment code. You're going to use paid by room. Now, when you pay by room, it's going to show you a list of in-house room numbers. When you hover over the room number, it'll tell you the name of the guest. So here, if I select room 106 and hover, I can confirm that that guest checked in is David Peterson. You can even choose which folio this will post to. I'll select folio 1 and click post payment. Now, what you'll notice is that when you use paid by room function, the receipt does not show here in the Sundry Sales. Instead, to see the record, you'll exit out of the Sundry Sales and you go directly to that in-house guest, select folio, and here at the bottom of their folio, you'll see that line item as the Sundry Sale. So instead of showing a separate receipt, it's actually going to show up as part of the charges for the guest alongside any room charges or any other incidental charges during that guest stay. So instead of collecting payment at the time of the sale, when you use paid by room, it's just going to be added to the guest bill and paid usually at the end of their stay. So lots of different methods and flexibility for selling items and collecting payment in the Sundry Sales. Now let's take a look at a couple of other functions. This includes how to search for a sale. So if you've made a couple of sales for the day and you need to search for a past one, we'll also look at different refund methods. So let's get started with how to search for a sale. I'm just going to click the play button. I've got a little video that'll show us a demonstration here. So once again, in the Sundry Sales module, the best way to search for a sale is by date and receipt number. So I'm just going to look at today's date, and I'm going to use the Find field to search for a specific receipt. I think receipt number 6. There we go. That will jump my cursor to that sale for receipt number 6. I'll see the receipt number, and I can actually see the reference items that were listed within that receipt. So I can go to the Reports menu, select Receipt, and that will bring up that exact receipt information. So each day, receipts are Receipt numbers are reused. That's why it is important to search for a sale by date and receipt number. Thanks. So now let's take a look how to refund a sale. And I'm going to use that same example, receipt number 6. So again, you're going to locate the receipt. In this case, like I said, receipt number 6. It's going to show me the items that were sold and the amount. And in the action field, you're going to click reverse sale. When you are refunding or reversing a sale, it's going to delete all transactions from that receipt. You'll click yes, and that will reverse the sale. Now that was a cash sale, so that automatically went back to cash. You'll notice that that receipt now disappears from this receipt list. If you wanted to review a list of deleted receipts, you'll go to the View menu, select Deleted, and here is where I can locate any deleted or refunded sales. There's my receipt number 6, and you can see that the reversals have been added as well. So it reversed the both sundry sales items and it reversed the cash amount. So I would have given that cash back to the guest or to the person who purchased those items. The other thing you can see whenever we're looking at these receipts is it always shows you a created by information, but when you have reversed an item, you'll notice that you no longer have access to the receipt itself. So you can print a receipt for a purchase, but you would not be printing a receipt for a reversal or a refund. So that was how to refund a sale. Now, as we saw just a little bit earlier, anytime that you are paying by room or charging to an in-house guest account, those items or those purchases do not appear inside Sundry Sales. Instead, they appear inside the guest account. So I have another video here that's going to show us how to refund or reverse any of those charges if they've been paid by room or sent to the guest room account. So like I said here, if you've sold something from Sundry Sales but paid by room, you'll need to go to the actual guest account. Here it is in the in-house guest account and the folio, and you'll locate that transaction on the guest folio down here at the bottom. I'm going to right click and you can choose either to reverse or adjust. Now I'm going to recommend using adjustment because that gives you the ability to refund a specific amount. In this case, I'm going to refund the full $15. And anytime you're doing this refund or reverse or adjustment, you do need to provide a reason as to why that is being refunded from the guest account. So it could be the wrong amount was posted or just in general, it was a posting error. You'll click the OK button and that will now show as an adjustment line item on the guest folio. So we can see the original posting and the adjustment. So anytime you're doing a refund, I always recommend adjustment if you have that paid by room payment method. That way it shows up as a separate line item. If you don't want it to appear at all, you can use reverse. If you want to know more information about using reverse an adjustment or refund on a guest account, definitely check out last month's webinar where we looked at front desk operations. We looked at how to manage those charges on a guest folio, including reverse, refund, and adjustments. So now that we've seen some of the common daily operations within the Sundry Sales module, let's take a look at the reporting. So inside the Sundry Sales module, we have some reporting. One of the first reports that we've already seen a little bit of a preview of is the receipt itself. The receipt does print on a full page, or depending on how your printer dimensions are set up, similar to a guest folio. So it's going to print on a full page here. Sometimes that can be quite large. It is up to you if you want to print and provide the receipt for the guest, but each sale is going to have its own receipt number listed here. And like I said, these receipt numbers are reused uh, each day or reset each day. So this is receipt number 3 for today's date, October 22nd. The receipt itself is going to show you the sale items and any reference information you entered during the sale. It will break out the tax. So here we can see that there is a 10% tax applicable to each of those sales and the total amount. If there is a payment, that will show up here as a payment line item, and we can see that that was made out as cash. So that was a cash payment of $6.05. Another type of report that is available in the Sundry Sales module is the Daily Sales by Receipt ID, and there's actually two versions of this report. The regular version is the default option here. So when you go to Sundry Sales, the reports menu, and select Daily Sales by Receipt ID, this report is going to print out and show you all of your sales for that day. And it's going to group them by receipt ID. So this example here shows receipt ID 3, 4, and 7. Now you'll notice that if you have deleted or refunded any charges throughout your day, they will not appear on this daily sales receipt by ID. Instead, what you'll need to do is change your view to the deleted view and then print the daily sales by receipt ID. And that will give you a list of all of your receipts or all of your sales that had been refunded. So these are your net sales by default on the left-hand side, and these are your refunded sales on the right-hand side. And I just have an example here in the database. Let me just open up an example. Here in Room Key, go to the Operations menu, select Sundry Sales. The Sundry Sales module, the way that we are accessing these reports from the Reports menu, if I select Daily Sales by Receipt ID, this is going to show me my daily sales for this current date with that are the net amount. But if you wanted to see your reversed or refunded sales, you'll change your view to the deleted view. These are the ones that have the reversal or refunded, and then you'll go ahead and print the daily sales by receipt ID. That will show you any of your refunded sales for that date. Oops. Let me just go back to my presentation here. Great. So a couple different ways to view some of those reports inside the Sundry Sales module. Now, we do have other reporting that is available outside of the Sundry Sales module. Some of these reports will look familiar if you have already been using some of the functionality or reports inside RoomKey that relate to the front desk or accounting side of things. Anything that is sold through Sundry Sales also appears on our transaction register balance financial reports, as well as our journal entry financial reports. So from RoomKey itself, so this is not in the Sundry Sales module, but just in RoomKey database, you would go to your Reports menu. In the financial section, if you're looking at your transaction register balance, this is an example of the detail with guest names version. You will see a list of any of your sundry sales. So I have an example here of those same sales. The benefit of using the transaction register balance report is that it's going to show you all of your sales, including any reversals or refunds. Now, it's really easy to tell if you've got, if one of these items was recorded in Sundry Sales. Not only does it say Sundry Sale here, if you've set up your transaction codes in that manner, but if you'll look here in the first column, instead of showing a reservation ID for a guest, it'll instead show you a number and, or sorry, the letter T and a number. So anything with the letter T is a sundry sales purchase, and the number next to it is the receipt number. So I know for October 22nd, receipt number 1, this was a sale for chips, coffee, and then it was actually reversed as well. So the transaction register balance is going to give you more detail, especially if you use this version, the detail with guest names. Of course, if you did use any of those different payment methods like paid by room, in those cases, the sundry sale will show the guest room ID, or sorry, the guest res ID, reservation ID in this first column. And over to the right-hand side, it'll show the name of the guest. So a couple of options there for how to review some of your transactions. Um, Like I said, this is the transaction register balance report. Another financial report that may be more useful for the accounting team is the journal entry. Now, this version is the expand all version, and instead of showing each and every item or each and every sale, it'll actually summarize the sundry sale account by the debits and credits. So on this report here, the total amount for that sundry sale transaction code was 103. That was the net amount recorded on this report. For the journal entry report, if I look down here at the sundry sales account, I can see the any debits or credits for that account, and I can see the net amount, which is also 103. So the debits are any reversals, the credits are any purchases, and then the net amount is 103. So I can see that summarized here for the accounting purposes. Great. Okay, so now let's take a look at a couple of frequently asked questions that we do get with regards to the sundry sales module. One of the first questions that I do get is it possible to set up a fixed price for items? So, when I was going through my demonstrations and example videos there, I did type in a reference and I did manually type in the amount. If you want to have a fixed price, that is possible. You will need to set up a fixed price for each transaction code. So, I have an example here in my demo. I'm just going to open up my sundry sales module here in the operations menu. And when you select sale, here in the charges section, when you select your item, if that item has a fixed price, it will automatically populate here. So for example, I have this parking charge that has a fixed amount of $15. There's also a tax associated with it. So my total amount for parking, self-parking in this database is $16.50. So if you do want to set up that fixed amount, like it is showing up here, you'll have to set that up on the charge itself. One thing to be mindful of, though, is if you're setting up any fixed pricing, if you do have any pricing changes, you will need to update those prices directly in the transactions module. So let me show you where that is. I'm just going to exit out of sundry sales. This time I'm going to change or modify the transaction code itself in system configuration. You'll go to transaction codes. These transaction codes are built as other charges. And I'm going to go directly to my parking charge. There it is. When you're setting up the transaction code here, you'll have the tab or the ability to set up a fixed amount. And this is where you can customize the pricing. So this fixed amount is set as $15. If there is going to be a new amount, you'll select Insert, and you can even indicate which date that new pricing will take will take place. So if this is going to be new pricing taking place as of November 1st, you can set that as the date from and set up the new pricing. Let's say the pricing is going to go up to $20. Right. So as of November 1st, that price is going to increase, so that fixed amount is going to increase to $20. Very good. Now, another question that we do commonly get is asking about tracking inventory. So if you're purchasing items for on bulk and then keeping track of inventory, unfortunately, this is not available inside Roomkey or inside the Sundry Sales module. You'll have to do any of your purchasing and inventory tracking outside of Roomkey. Oftentimes, it's done as part of your purchase orders or some sort of external accounting system might also be used for tracking purchasing and inventory. Great. So taking a look at a bit of a summary, the Sundry Sales module, we looked at what it is, what it can be used for, how to set it up, and how to use it on a daily basis. We also took a look at some reporting both inside the Sundry Sales module and outside of the Sundry Sales module that you can use for your reconciliation and accounting purposes at the end of the day. We looked at a couple of frequently asked questions, but I'm going to open up the floor now to see if there's any outstanding questions about this module. Okay, so it looks like there are no more questions. I know that today was a little bit shorter than some of our other presentations, but I just wanted to thank everyone once again for joining in for today's presentation on Sundry Sales. Everyone will get a notification once this presentation is made available on our support website. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and have a good week. Thank you so much.